What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. Now it's time for the second night of the WWE 2020 draft, and they have a loaded show. But will it live up to the hype though? Join us now as Wrestlelamia analyzes the 12th October edition of Raw and looks at the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, including Lars Sullivan hated backstage, an update on Eva Marie and the WWE, Vince loves Aaliyah Mysterio, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now, as always, we won't waste your time recapping the matches, but we will take a look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly of last night's show. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, a thrilling triple threat match. Our last night's Raw featured some inter-brand rivalries as Seth Rollins gave a snarky send-off for himself on the last night of the Red brand, running afoul of both AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy. This led to a terrific triple threat tag match. Actually, no, it wasn't a tag match, it was just a triple threat match, but Jeff Hardy flubbed the line, with all three superstars showing why they're still some of the best performers in the WWE. Now, no one really needed to get over, but the match was more about putting on a good show and setting up Elias's return as the Drifter, tuning Jeff Hardy up with a guitar, which gave AJ Styles the win. Number 2, long-term storytelling. Speaking of Elias, his return after a storyline car accident injury used to explain his recovery from a real-life injury was pretty well done, with Elias laying out Jeff Hardy, then cutting a passionate promo backstage reminding Charlie Caruso that Jeff Hardy was the man who took him out of action. Or at least Elias thinks so. Elias's heel turn was well explained, and him telling Caruso he had time to take everything in while he recovered is a great way to suggest how Elias became bitter, hence his attack on Hardy. The WWE always left open the question of who hit Elias, as Caruso reminded Elias that no one knows who was driving the car, a question that could tie in with Sheamus, who is now on Raw. Number 3, Ricochet using Eddie Guerrero's trick. Last night's Raw featured a nice homage to the late great Eddie Guerrero, as Ricochet used one of Latino Heat's signature moves to defeat Cedric Alexander in his high-stakes match, where he'd have to join the Hurt Business if he lost, but if he won, the Hurt Business would stop targeting him. During the bout, MVP threw a chair to Alexander after a ref bump, only for Ricochet to intercept the chair, smash it on the mat, throw it to Alexander and take a dive just as the referee got to his feet. By the way, we loved that reaction. Naturally, the referee thought Alexander had just used the chair, and he immediately disqualified the Hurt Business's latest addition, leading to a sneaky win for Ricochet, who immediately bailed out of the ring. This maneuver was an Eddie Guerrero favorite, and it was a nice way to pay tribute to that beloved superstar who would have turned 53 recently. Number 4, a decent draft. Last night's draft turned out to be a good one for Raw and a decent one overall. The Red brand got some big names including Braun Strowman, Jeff Hardy and The Fiend, as well as some much needed tag teams. Be sure to check out our 2020 WWE draft recap and analysis for more details. Raw has been built up nicely, and now it's up to the WWE to take advantage of the loaded roster. As for SmackDown, the Blue brand didn't fare as well, but their recent talent at utilizing everyone from lower card acts to main eventers suggests they'll continue doing well. Number 5, Tandem Sister Abigails. A fan's wondering if and when The Fiend might show up on Raw following his draft of the Red brand found out when The Fiend's new partner in crime Alexa Bliss startled Zelina Vega and Andrade with a creep-tastic surprise appearance that added a new meaning to Twisted Bliss. The Fiend's arrival set the stage for a macabre moment as he and Alexa delivered simultaneous Sister Abigails to Andrade and Zelina Vega. It was a chilling moment that hinted at great things to come on Raw. But that was the good. What about the bad? Is number 1, Lana's loathsome acting. As bad as Lana's in-ring work is, although she continues improving, albeit at a slow pace, her acting is even worse. It's hard to believe that the WWE's ravishing Russian has had roles in Hollywood considering her over-the-top performances, straight out of the playbook of Kim Kardashian's Book of Crying. Perhaps it's the WWE telling her what to do, but it's a definite detriment to a character who seems to have lost her way ever since splitting up her and Lashley. Number 2, WWE splitting up tag teams. The WWE continues to split up its tag teams as seen by the last few months' booking of teams self-disintegrating and teams being drafted to separate brands. As we've repeatedly pointed out, the two rosters don't lack for good teams, it's just that the WWE can't seem to stop itself from breaking them up. Number 3, WWE logic at its best. And we don't have enough time to cover every mistake the WWE has made with Retribution, but Raw drafting the very faction dedicated to destroying them makes zero sense, and they didn't give an explanation why the Red Brand wants them there. A simple explanation such as if Retribution wants us so bad, we'll face them here head on would have sufficed. Instead, fans were wondering just how stupid the powers that be on Raw really are. Now, there was nothing downright ugly about last night's show, and this was one of Raw's best showings in months. The presence of stars from both brands didn't hurt, but this show can serve as a lesson on how to book an entertaining show despite a 3-hour length. Whether they follow up remains to be seen, but next week is Raw's season premiere, so there's hope that it'll put on a star-studded event. What did you guys think of Raw? What did you guys think of the draft? Let us know in the comments down below. Now, let's move on to the news. Now, our first story looks at nobody liking Lars Sullivan. Now, wherever there is controversy, Lars Sullivan seems to find it, and this happens almost every time they have something planned for the big man. Now, he's not the most well-liked person within the WWE Universe, and the feeling seems to be mutual backstage, as the ever-reliable WrestleVotes tweeted on the locker room's stance with Sullivan. He tweeted, "WWE is aware of Lars Sullivan's latest troubles, and it's beyond safe to say he doesn't have many supporters left in the locker room. However, one of those supporters has ultimate say, so that's that. How this could affect his recent push is unknown, but it doesn't look good. WWE likes to shy away from controversy as much as possible, so perhaps another hiatus is going to be planned." Next up, Vince McMahon is a big fan of Aaliyah Mysterio. Now, it's not just Dominic Mysterio who has impressed WWE's head honcho Vince McMahon, but it's his sibling Aaliyah Mysterio, as Vince sees her as a big star. So much so that he could be offering a full-time contract to the 19-year-old. WrestlingNews.co reported, "Don't be surprised if Vince offers her a full-time contract. He sees star potential in her. You will see her in multiple segments on some shows going forward." What's your guys' opinion about her? To be honest, she had been doing a great job on the Red Brand, and we wouldn't mind seeing her as a mainstay on SmackDown. Next up, a Retribution segment was cut from Raw. While the Retribution storyline has shown promise, there's no question it appears to be booked at the last minute, as seen by last night's scrap segment featuring the WWE's Rogue faction. According to a pre-show preview, Mustafa Ali was going to address the WWE Universe about his role in Retribution, a segment that could have explained some of the gaping holes in the storyline. However, the segment didn't happen, and the only mention of Retribution was that Raw had drafted the group. Next up, an Eva Marie update. A former WWE superstar, Eva Marie, has confirmed she's back with the WWE, as according to PW Insider, she had reached an agreement with the WWE in late September. They reported Marie and the company came to terms for a return the week of 20th September. There is no word whether she's returning to wrestle or simply appearing as a personality on TV. Now, she wasn't on last night's Raw, but PW Insider notes she was spotted at WWE. Maria is in Orlando, Florida for this week's WWE tapings and was seen yesterday undergoing medical testing needed in order to enter the Thunderdome today. Do you think she'll return to the ring or appear on camera as a personality? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, some post-Raw draft picks. The WWE continued the draft right after Raw, with Wrestling Inc. reporting the following picks. Round 7 on Raw Talk, Lana stays on Raw, Riddick Moss stays on Raw, Natalya goes to SmackDown from Raw, Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan go to SmackDown from Raw, and round 8 on Twitter, Eric stays on Raw, Billie Kay goes to SmackDown from Raw, Tamina stays on SmackDown, and Zelina Vega goes to SmackDown from Raw. What do you guys think of these picks? Next up, speaking of the draft, why wasn't Andrade drafted? Now, there could be bad news for fans of Andrade, as the former US champion was nowhere to be seen in the draft, not even making it to the draft held after Raw went off the air. Now, you know things are bad when Akira Tozawa gets selected before you, and according to Ringside News' Steve Carrier, things are even worse than they appear. He reported, "Don't shoot the messenger, but we received a reason why Andrade wasn't drafted." And I quote, "Vince McMahon doesn't give a shit about Andrade." End of quote. End of explanation. We can only hope those rumors going back to NXT are true, because Vince might let him go. In related news, Mickie James' name wasn't drafted either, leading to speculation she may head over to NXT. But do you think Andrade may be future endeavored? What about Mickie? Let us know in the comments down below. How do you think Charlotte Flair is going to take this news? Next up, and finally why a dream match didn't happen. And last but not least, fans and members of the wrestling industry will forever remember the life of Eddie Guerrero and the fantastic matches he had. However, Eddie's untimely passing prevented what could have been a dream match at WrestleMania between Shawn Michaels versus Eddie Guerrero. Speaking on his Something to Wrestle podcast, Bruce Prichard discussed how the WWE had planned for the match in 2006. Of course, Eddie passed away in 2005. It was kicked around as a possibility because they never worked together, and that was, at least in my head, a dream match. That was one of those that I would definitely have loved to have seen. Now there's no question that bout would have produced some WrestleMania moments, and it's such a shame we never got it. But there you have it guys, the good, the bad and the downright ugly from last night's Raw, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.